Pfizer has become a household name and has made front-page news through the research and development of breakthroughs made in the fight against COVID-19. But behind those headlines are real people who were balancing personal lives while making history. Today, we have a chance to speak to two of these remarkable women. What has it meant to you to be working in life sciences at a time like this, to be working for Pfizer?
My role at Pfizer in fighting COVID was to work with bringing the voice of those who had been most disadvantaged and most impacted by COVID into the conversations. Specifically, I got to work with advocacy organizations here in the US who represent African American, Latino, Asian, other underserved groups to really understand what messages they might need to hear in order to determine whether or not they wanted to join our trials. So to help diversify the clinical trials. Being here in New York, ground zero for so long, I felt that I was part of history. I was here to make an impact. I was here for such a time as this, and I wanted to be involved in any way I could. The intersectionality of a woman, a Black woman in New York in a company like Pfizer, there's not many of us. And so I felt like I had to do everything to speak for others who were not going to be in the rooms.
Sounds like a lot of pride.
So much pride. Hashtag Pfizer pride, as we say.
I've been working in vaccines for 25 years, and so this was like the big one. In 2020, I was leading the vaccines regulatory team, so leading the effort to develop the vaccine and have it authorized and registered around the world. It was so exciting and amazing to be at the forefront of this. We were helping the world. We were doing this great thing, and we were in a race, to help the world. Pfizer knew we needed a vaccine. I was honored as a woman in Pfizer, helping the community, and I was the direct contact to the FDA to negotiate the start of the clinical trial, the continuation of the trial, picking the dose, and then ultimately getting it authorized and licensed.
It's like everything you've been working for all your life.
Yes, exactly. It was really amazing. I can't tell you how, it was like goosebumps when we got the data.
And goosebumps, you talk about goosebumps. When we knew that our trial was diverse, that we had 30% of our population in the US were in our trial diverse, like I ran through the house screaming to my husband, like we really did it.
How did the pandemic change your personal lives and impact it positively or negatively? I mean, a lot of women really struggled and some couldn't manage juggling the burdens and left the workforce.
Yeah. Well, I just remember my children coming home from school and they were 8 and 9 at the time and backpacks full.
No.
So I said, okay, so we're in this for the long haul. And even though my husband is a math major, a biostatistician, they came to mom when the Zoom wasn't working. So I'm telling people on our WebEx, hold on, I got to get them on before I can do anything. And really having them work through the emotions of what a pandemic is, right? It's really,
the kids were so lonely. This was really, really a struggle for young people everywhere.
It was hard. We were working a lot. We were in a race. Data was coming out every day. We were trying to get it together, submit it. So I was working a lot. Like Niesha, moms carry the burden, let's be real, right? So homework, doctor's appointments. My kids are older. My daughter is 16 now. My son was graduating college at the time, but a lot of teenage drama. Making sure she actually went to school, or papers weren't turned in, and that you're like this executive, right? And yet at home, like things are like starting to fall apart, right? The school's calling saying, hey, things aren't done. I have parents that I take care of, so I'm kind of that sandwich generation.
You're like me.
Yeah. So my mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, so I did chemo treatments with her. So just like everybody though, women just do it, right? So we get it done. We worked crazy hours and just different hours, and you just did it when you could.
How was Pfizer in terms of being supported? I know it's pretty high up on the list of good places to work for women.
I chose Pfizer because it was doing good in the world and I could do a lot of different jobs at Pfizer. What I came to realize is that they're so focused on the culture and making sure people are well enough to bring their whole selves into the office. So they promoted wellness days. You have colleague resource groups where you have tight-knit groups who you can turn to and talk about tough times. You were encouraged to take your vacation days. I've been so fortunate, my last 2 bosses are also working women. And so they provide so much grace to take a break, do what you need to do. And if you get that thing done at 9 p.m., and that's when you can, then you can get it done then.
A lot of
And so
flexibility.
lots of
Tons of
flexibility.
flexibility. And you had to. It was the only way to get things done.
You can save the world from home.
Was it difficult to stay motivated? Because that must have been brutal, like grueling.
I always tell people I'm built for this, whatever it is. Just rise to the occasion.
Yeah, for months and months and months, Donna. You had
just
to have hit
do
a
it.
wall.
Well, I have a saying, it's similar, there's always a way, right? So you just, and I say that at home whenever things aren't, there's always a way, you figure it out. So you just keep going, and then you take breaks when you need to. And look, the family had to chip in, right? The family had to help out more than they've ever done in the past.
I'm curious, what has gone back to form? Anything? Has it completely changed how you do business at your company?
Yeah.
So we learned a lot, actually, about how to move things along. So I think we've definitely raised the bar.
So I'm sitting here very jealous because you were my age and you were just about to turn 50 and you both are like, you look amazing. I had no idea. So I want to ask you some questions about being 50, just about 50 or over. Donna, when you were, I don't know, in graduate school or the early stages of your career, did you ever envision your career after the age of 50?
You know, I always knew that I would be working. I didn't know that I would make it quite to this level. And I'm so honored that I'm in this role.
I'm impressed. I usually don't get that answer. I have interviewed countless women for my 50 over 50 list. I didn't envision it. 40, 30, 20s, yes. No 50. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
you get better with age, and you get smarter with age.
I think you become more confident with age.
Totally more confident with age.
I come from a long list of women who have always worked, and you retire late. Certainly, I don't think, hoping, not working at like 65, but after 50, between 50 and 65, yes, would still be
I love
this,
it.
making a difference.